Introductions to the Mind by Rabindranath Das Goswami. And we are reading on verse number 5. And today we will be reading the commentary by Urmila Devidasi. In the fifth verse, practitioners of bhakti are on a shining path of service to the divine couple of Braj, but are not progressing much because they are anchored by strong ropes. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to tell the story of a family crossing a river to attend a wedding. That's the one Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj told me. Their boat made no headway all night because of failing to pull up the anchor. The oars are moving, everyone is in the boat, but they are standing still. In a similar way, if those on the path of devotion are still slaves to lust, anger, greed, and so forth, those evil masters will bind the devotees with ropes of evil deeds, making their apparent progress on the surface of bhakti either very insignificant or non-existence in the depths. Having conquered the difficulties explained in verse 4, the person described in verse 5 speak of spiritual thing, but have action not in harmony with their words. As Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to Bhagavad Gita 3:33, quote, there are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose an advance in the sense, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature, which are surpass, unquote. We find a similar concept in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela 4:102. आपने आचार्य केहा ना करे प्रचार, प्रचार करे ना केहा ना करे नाचार. Quote, some behave very well but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, whereas others preach but do not behave properly. This problem of preaching nicely but behaving improperly may be due to weakness, hypocrisy, or some of both. If preachers are honest and humble about failures to live up to what they teach, the situation is not so dangerous. Indeed, even those devotees who both preach and act perfectly generally present themselves as being far less than the ideal they teach. Such a presentation comes from their genuine humility. The greatest danger, however, is the hypocrite who cheats others. Such persons often cheat themselves as well. Hare Krishna, what a nice quotation by Urmila Mataji. So we will continue reading tomorrow. So we will now dwell in the life of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das Thakur is the Vyasadeva of Mahaprabhu's Leela, original Vyasadeva. Lord Nityananda, the Adi Guru, was his spiritual mentor. Having received the blessings of his Guru, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has written an incredible biographical narrative of Lord Chaitanya's sublime mood and lofty pastime in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one of the most cherished work of our Gaudiya Sampradaya. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has been widely praised by the founder Acharya of the Gaudiya Math, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his Chaitanya Bhagavat purpose. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's devotion to Nityanand Prabhu, his spiritual guru, is unmatched. There is little doubt that Swami Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, has lavished praise on this colossus. In one of the initiation talks in Boston, Prabhupada addresses Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, one of the great Acharya of our Gaudiya Sampradaya, and how we all should worship him for his causeless kindness. He described Vrindavan Das as one of the most prominent preachers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's doctrine, and how this whole being was dedicated to spreading his message. Playing and growing up at Malini Devi's home, the wife of Srivas Thakur, was a natural fate for Vrindavan Das. They used to treat him as if he were a precious gemstone. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was around 20 years old when Mahaprabhu departed this world. Sri Nityanand Prabhu led him to enlightenment. He was Sri Nityanand Prabhu's very last in his school travel to the Kheturi Mahamahotsav with Nityanand Prabhu's wife Janva Mata, the first Gur Purnima festival held by Narottam Das Thakur. Haribol. When Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was a young man, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Society was suffering from a leadership void. After finishing their amusement, the Lord and his companion had already vanished. Brahmins were becoming more and more intelligent at the time. In the Vedas, the Karma Kanda, rather than the Bhakti Kanda, is considered the ultimate truth by smarta Brahmanas, who is exclusively concerned with financial gain. These smartas Brahmanas use several strategies to cast doubt on the validity of devotional service in the purest form. The numerous nefarious deeds were inciting hate and disparaging statements against Lord Nityananda. These teaching ideologies were at odds with Vaishnavism and spreading unfounded rumors about Vrindavan Das Thakur and his family. Pseudo-devotees and smarta Brahmanas had already taken over many of the holy sites by this point. There have been instances when devotees have placed Ma Kali on an equal level with the Supreme Lord in their devotion. They tried relentlessly but couldn't dissuade Srila Vrindavan Das, who was strengthened by the compassion of his Guru and kept serving the Lord and his disciples joyously, despite their effort and personal assault. So Lord Nityananda's most beloved devotees is none other than Vrindavan Das Thakur. The devotee Vrindavan Das Thakur is Lord Nityananda's personal favorite, and as a result, he is considered the authentic Vyasdev when it comes to recounting the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says that all authors after Vrindavan Das Thakur who are pure devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who have attempted to explain the Lord's actions are to be regarded as being on par with Vyas in the writing. When it comes to explaining Chaitanya Lila, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the original Vyasdev. And all those who follow in his footsteps by detailing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are likewise entitled to refer to as Vyasadeva. Because he represents Vyas, the genuine spiritual teacher is referred to as Vyas in his title. So Vrindavan Das Thakur has written Chaitanya Bhagavat. Nityanand Prabhu supposedly introduced Vrindavan Das because of the many benefits he obtained from him. Nityanand's blessings have been bestowed to Vrindavan Das. When it comes to Chaitanya's hobbies, he is the original Vyasadeva. Vrindavan Das, Narayani's son, write the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Vrindavan Das is the Vyas of Chaitanya Lila, and Vedyas narrated Krishna's life in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna's pastimes were described in Srimad Bhagavatam, much as Thakur Vrindavan Das presented Chaitanya's. Chaitanya Bhagavat, his incarnation, eliminate all calamities. Using Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat, he considered the core of Srimad Bhagavatam's teachings. Even an agnostic or a Muslim might become a wonderful Vaishnava by listening to Chaitanya Bhagavat. It is impossible for a human being to have written such an eloquent compositions. Lord Chaitanya has spoken through Vrindavan Das' voice. Oh, inspiring in his portrayal of the Lord's activity, by which the three worlds have been sanctified merely by hearing it. As we were reading, that the gopis, they cites all the wonderful pastime and that purify the three worlds. So this is same. Vrindavan Das criticisms of Vaishnava Aparadha. Among the many topics that Vrindavan Das covered were Mahaprabhu's early life, including his actions as a young student, boyhood, chastisement of the Qazi, and departure from Navadvip. Vrindavan Das Thakur's warning to the lost souls was an act of kindness. The identical words appear throughout the Chaitanya Bhagavats, Adi, Madhya, and Antya Khandas. Misunderstood and arrogant people attacked Vrindavan Das for making such comments. They end themselves in the much of offensiveness due to this kind of criticism. For this, it is worth studying the remark of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, the founder of Sri Chaitanya Mat and all the Gaudiya are worth studying. So say Vrindavan Das, the avatar of Vyas and Vaishnava Acharya, a person's sinful conditioning will be removed if even a speck of dust from his foolishness on the head of a blasphemy. Haribol, that's ad comes on the music. Let it finish because I don't have the skip yet. Haribol. Okay. So says Vrindavan Das, the author of Vyas and Vaishnava Acharya, a person's sinful conditioning will be removed even if a speck of dust from his foot falls on the head of a blasphemer who speak against God. Thakur shown compassion for even the most blasphemous atheist in words that encapsulate the goddess of learning and a stream of pure devotion, befitting a servant of Nityanand Prabhu, the highest teacher. Even though they should be ignored because of their stupidity, he tells them that despite their unwillingness to act in their best interest, he and other compassionate Vaishnavas like him, who practice and preach the Lord's doctrines, unselfishly work for their well-being. So the conclusion is, Vrindavan Das Thakur has received Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami's humble homage. People pray at his lotus feet to bestow upon their love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Nityanand Prabhu on this day as the disappearance day of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is also very auspicious. So with those thoughts we pray to the divine lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur to give up the specks of the devotion that he had for his Guru Maharaj. So we can also imbibe that quality, meditate during the day. Are we satisfying the instructions of our spiritual master? This is the secret of success in spiritual life. So still we have some time. So we will dwell on the life of Srila Prabhupada as we are doing. We are on the volume number 3, New Jagannath Puri. One day in March, 18-year-old Wayne Gunderson was walking down the street when a piece of paper blowing along the sidewalk caught on his foot. He tried to kick it off without breaking his stride, but it hung on. Then he stopped and tried to kick it off. He couldn't. He reached down and picked it up and found that it was a flyer. Stay high forever. Advertising lectures by Swami Bhaktivedanta at 518 Frederick Street. Like so many others, Wayne, a mild young man who worked for the post office, had come to Heights, Asbury to take part in the revolution. He attended a rock concert and begins browse through the books and posters in the psychedelic shops, shared an apartment with his girlfriend and another couple, and took drugs. But he was quite polite and solitary. He didn't dress like a hippie, but wore clean, conservative, casual clothes and a whimsical, old-looking sports cap. The flyer about the Swami seems a timely coincidence because Wayne had been planning to go to India to find a guru. he decided to go see Swami Bhaktivedanta on Frederick Street. Wayne was surprised to find only a storefront. He was startled by the picture of the Swami in the window. No smiling, bearded yogi, but a seven-headed Swami with a stern look. Wayne went in. It was a typical Haight-Ashbury scene, with hippies sitting around. But there were also a few people with big red beads strung like garland around their necks. And up front, he saw the Swami. Wayne was impressed as Prabhupada began chanting Hare Krishna. And he found the lecture firm and authoritative. The Swami stressed, quote, "We are not these bodies," unquote. And when he spoke of Krishna, he described Krishna so personally that it was like being introduced to Krishna. After a few meetings, Wayne got up the nerve to ask a question. Quote, "Can one practice Hatha Yoga at the same time as Krishna consciousness?" Quote, "Oh, why do you want to spend so much time with that body?" Prabhupada replied. And Wayne felt Prabhupada's eyes look deep within him. "You are not that body," he said so strongly that Wayne, who was easily hurt, felt like sinking into the floor. Quote, "This body is not as important as the soul," unquote, Srila Prabhupada explained. Quote, "So we shouldn't spend so much time with the body, exaggerating its needs." Then he smiled at Wayne. And then he quote again, "Beside, all yogas culminate in Krishna consciousness," unquote. And Wayne felt that smile lifted him completely out of his diminished and crushed condition. Several weeks later, Wayne asked about initiation. When the devotees told him he should go up and see the Swami, Wayne went home and rehearsed his lines first, anticipating what Prabhupada would say. Wayne prepared his own responses and contrived the whole conversation. Then, nervously, he approached Prabhupada's door. I think this Wayne is teaching us a lesson, that we should contemplate who prepared when they want to meet their guru, We just go in with no thoughts in our mind. And that shows how they contemplate those advanced devotees. And then when they meet, they remember the conversation. I guarantee you, I don't remember so many conversations with my Guru Maharaj unless we have write a note. And that's the reason I always advise that I miss that opportunity. Please keep a notebook when you meet with your Guru Maharaj. Whatever he says, take your time to write it down because that's a jewel of your life. And then in the future you contemplate what does it mean to you in your life. This is Wayne is teaching us. Haribol. So several weeks later, Wayne asked about initiation, and when the devotee told him, we read that. Then nervous, okay. So Wayne went home and rehearsed his lines first, anticipating what Prabhupada would say. Wayne prepared his own responses and contrived the whole conversation. Then nervously he approached Prabhupada's door, humble. But before he could even knock, the door opened. You know, this is something sometimes we experience like that when we thought something and it happened. Krishna is so kind. And there was Prabhupada looking at him, not sternly as in his picture, but kindly as if expecting him. Yes, Prabhupada says. Come in. The incident completely shattered Wayne's planned approach. He concluded that Swamiji could read minds, so trying to clear his mind of bad thoughts, he entered Prabhupada's apartment. Prabhupada sat in his rocking chair, and Wayne, who usually sat on the floor, sat in the only other chair in the room. Wayne immediately felt uncomfortable as he realized that it would be more proper to sit at Prabhupada's feet. I always do that, you know, this thing I have never changed. Even not to spiritual master, by any advanced devotees I met, I always sit at their feet. That's the etiquette we should maintain. But feeling too weak-hearted to alter the situation, he kept his seat, nervously fingering his sports cap. Swamiji's, he began, I would like to be your disciple. Prabhupada immediately agreed. He asked whether Wayne could follow the four principles. And Wayne, although not even sure what the four principles were, said he could. Very well. Prabhupada then asked him what principle was the most difficult for him to follow. Well, he said, I have difficulty with meat eating. That's applied to some devotees, right? Haribol. He lied. He was a vegetarian, but he was too shy to say that his real problem was uncontrolled sexual desire. Prabhupada laughed, quote, oh, that's not a problem. We will give you prasadam. You can be initiated next week, unquote. Wayne then asked if he would be able to go to India. He felt the Swami would be pleased to hear that his new follower wanted to go to his country. But Prabhupada seemed displeased. India? Why India? Wayne thought the real reason he had wanted to go to India was to find a guru. Well, he said, to learn Sanskrit. Quote, I will teach you Sanskrit, Prabhupada replied. So there was no need to go to India, and he would be initiated by a genuine guru next week, right here in San Francisco. Some devotees helped Wayne prepare for his initiation ceremony. Hayagriva lent Wayne his dhoti, a piece of yellow cloth, much too large for Wayne, and devotees set up a sacrificial arena in the storefront, a bed of earth, firewood, colored dyes, and flowers. During the ceremony, Wayne was nervous. When Prabhupada chanted the mantras, Wayne could not hear them exactly, so he just mimicked as best he could. And when Prabhupada began the fire sacrifice, Wayne felt a little frightened because the initiation seemed such a serious commitment. He watched Prabhupada gravely building the fire and saying the mantras. When Prabhupada initiated Wayne with his new name, Upendra, Wayne didn't hear it clearly and began to worry. Then the ceremony ended and Prabhupada stood up and abruptly left the storefront. I think if I remember right, Upendra is the one when Prabhupada told his disciple that the astronaut has not landed on the moon and somehow or other, I think that he can't accept it. So when we don't accept the word of Guru, what happened? I think I'm saying right thing that then he left the movement. I think that was Upendra, but I may be wrong. So if somebody knows it, correct me. So Upendra is described in his own word that someone reminded me that I should go upstairs and give Swamiji an offering. So I decided to give him a baby blanket and a beach towel. It wasn't that I lacked money, but these things had some sentimental value to me. So I wanted to give them to Swamiji. So I went upstairs to his room and he was sitting at the foot of his mattress. I came in and bowed down and presented him with the baby blanket and beach towel. He held them up in his fingers and looked at them both in each of his hand. He said, quote, "These things are useless," unquote. And he tossed them down on the floor. I was hurt and I had nothing to say. I just sat there. After a while, I excused myself and went back to my apartment. What incidents. The next day, I went to see Swamiji during his evening visiting time, and he had the beach towel and baby blanket out on the floor like rugs so that his guests who come to visit could have something to sit on. I felt satisfaction that he had found some use of my offering. Prabhupada said that Upendra was not living up to his vows since he was still living with his girlfriend. Upendra felt guilty about breaking the principle forbidding illicit sex and intoxication, but he just couldn't follow them. He wanted to tell Swamiji but couldn't bring himself to do it. Besides, he thought, even if he confessed, how could he stop? Upendra's girlfriend didn't like Krishna consciousness, didn't want to meet Swamiji, and didn't want to come to the temple. So Prabhupada decided that instead of marrying Upendra to her, he would save Upendra from her. Okay, wonderful place to stop. We'll continue, ready? And someone who is a very learned person can dwell into this thing that this is the same Upendra that left the moment when he heard that astronauts had landed on the moon. You know, it is always good to clear the doubt when our spiritual master is present. Any doubt we have, any question we have, we should explore and get the instruction directly from our spiritual master and write it down in a notebook, because you will never get a chance. Then there is another senior Vaishnava we can approach and they will guide us. But it's important to get some definite, some instructions from our spiritual master. So at least we can fulfill those desires if he cannot read his mind and do what he wishes us to do. At least we should follow what he says. That's the basic requirement as a disciple. So I think with those thoughts, we should end our session. And before the devotees leave, we should offer our humble obeisances at the desk of their retreat. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnav